Hi, friends. This is Wendy Gihula, and I know you were probably expecting Gabriel Leal, but I have taken over the Made from Scratch broadcast tonight, and I'm so excited. I have a very special guest. She is the author of Your Creative Career. She is a LinkedIn influencer. She taught me everything I know about being a podcast guest. She's awesome, and in probably have already guessed since I said Ordinaire, it's Anna Sabino. Welcome, Anna.
Hi, Wendy. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Hey, I've got an icebreaker question for you since you and I know each other pretty well. So, what was your first impression of me? Was I a hot mess when I first came to you, or
Not at
tell me what I was
all.
like back then,
Wendy, you're such a
5 months ago?
full of energy and fun. You just like infuse everything with joy. It's been always a pure joy to be around you, to be next to you, to guide you. You are a pure joy.
Okay, well, I'll give you that $5 later. Oh, that I was, I know that I was a hot mess when I first came to your um, podcast blueprint. And, I was so excited to be there because I had been watching LinkedIn, connected with you on Facebook, and you were so knowledgeable. And, you'd been on 70 podcasts, and I knew how to do it right. And I just couldn't wait. I just couldn't wait to find out more. So I'm so glad that I joined your program and I learned so much. So I know I was a hot mess when I got um, the very first. Oh, let me ask you this. So since we've known each other for a while, do you have a post of mine that was most memorable, either for good or for bad? Because I have one. I have a memorable post. Because how many posts have you had in a row now that are live every day? Anna
Well,
talks.
now, as far as Anna talks, that's
Yes.
been like over 700. But the first thing I do remember about you, Wendy, when you first became my student, I remember that you signed up very early. And, we were still like getting going. Our signups were rolling in. And you just literally just started. And I'm like, you just started. And that self-starter quality in you is so admirable, because there are so many people who are paralyzed by perfectionism, by, oh, I'm not ready. And you just don't even wait. You didn't even wait for the program to start. And you booked your first 2 podcast interviews before we started. It was amazing.
I told you I was a hot mess. And then I remember the first is like, who's your avatar? And I thought, oh, I've already booked one and I don't even know what she's talking about. So for those out there who are thinking about being a guest on podcasts, like, what is the very first thing that we should know?
Well, so first of all, I'd like to encourage you guys to really get curious and dive into guest podcasting, because this is something that's working right now, and it's working. We don't know for how long, because look what happened to Facebook, look what happened to Instagram. So right now it's really working, and it generates leads. The first thing I would say would be to really get clear on who we want to target, because that will depend on the podcast that we will choose to be a guest on.
Exactly. So I came in as an author and I thought, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about my Pika Bunny books, hopefully sell some books along the way. But I had no idea what a springboard being a guest on podcasts, like you would say you'll become an expert on, because you're knowledgeable and you will share your knowledge. But that was like going over my head. It was going over my head. And then when I realized, I mean, you are so amazing and what you've done for me. I just want to thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. But there's only that much guidance that we can get. We need to take action. So I think I I've heard somewhere that 97% of students don't implement these courses that they take. So I
Ooh,
really focus on implementation, and I know that my percentage is lower because of the methods, and I know that this is a problem, but you've been just a very, very fast implementer. And once you implement and you see the results, you're just motivated to keep going. So
right.
kudos.
The hardest part is not asking, because you can
Yeah.
ask, and then if you don't hear back, you can check in. But if they say no, it's not a big deal, because you probably won't talk to that person again, and you just go on to the next, on the list, and research them and see what you have in common. So I was trying to find people who were like had kindness as a value for their podcast. And then the hardest part for me is always right before you push like call for the Zoom. Like when you connect, I always get really nervous, like, why did I do this? Why did I say I would do this? And I'm like, oh, this, but it ends up being so much fun. And I have so much energy after. It's like, I know I can go exercise. Like I'll go for a walk, and then it's like, I don't want to say it's a high, but it's a lot of, it's, a, and you don't, because you think, oh, they're going to be picking on every word I say, but that's not how it, do you agree? That's not quite how it is.
Yeah, that's a great observation, Wendy. That guest podcasting and the overall exposure just really invites a lot of these voices, the saboteurs in us. It starts with like, oh, am I good enough? Am I really good enough to be sharing what I have to say? And so once we quiet this voice, then another one shows up. Once we start our pitching, our pitch,
Yeah.
our outreach, then God forbid we don't get an answer right away, because other voices will show up in us and say, oh, yeah, that's right. Our message probably is really not good enough. We should stop right now. So those of you who listen to these voices will just not make any progress in that on that journey. But those of us who are just able to quiet these voices, because they do show up and they are present, and just kind of keep going, as you said, not taking it personally, because maybe we didn't get an answer simply because the host didn't see our message. They are human, they
Right.
have
Exactly.
their lives, right? We just move
Right.
on to next instead of making up these stories in our head. We are such masters in making up these stories.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's not personal, because they don't know you. So how could it be personal? Like, you're a stranger trying to, but what you do, Anna, is when you're in the program, you give us that beautiful template that you used, and you tell us how to personalize it. And it's like formula. It really is. It's like gold. That's why I recommend you to everybody. And being vulnerable is a good thing. I'll tell you, my most memorable video that you have left, it was months ago, and it was a challenge hashtag, and you were dancing. Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I'm a dance choreographer and teacher. And when I watched that, it was like I was seeing your spirit. It was so beautiful. And it was like you weren't worried. You were dancing on, you had different places you were dancing. You were dancing on the beach. You were dancing, I don't know if it was in a park or exactly where you were. But to me, that was the very most memorable. It just showed a lot about you, because you come across, I don't know if you know this, but to me, you come across a little mysterious on LinkedIn, not in a bad way. Like you want to know more. That video was very revealing to me.
Thank
Do you remember
you.
making that?
Thank you. I do remember. There's always, and that's what we cover a lot, because we always are just like not sure, okay, what should we share? How much should we share? How much of our private life our people are really interested in, right? There should be like this fine line, and there's a perfect formula for it, to just kind of introduce ourselves in a sequential way so that it's interesting to our audience. But in my opinion, we still have to remember that we are creating this picture in people's minds about ourselves. So how we want this picture to look like? What kind of stories do we want to be known for? So I always keep that in mind because there's so many stories that we can share, but then it's going to stay in people's minds and it's going to be a part of our brand and a part of our picture. So I think we should be very, very selective because of how we want to, who we want to be, how we want to be referred by, how we want to grow, right?
Right, exactly. And you help with branding as well. You helped me brand, and I didn't even quite know what that was. Because to me back then it was like, okay, logo. It was like, no, that's not what branding is. So you taught me that. You taught me so much and segued me to now. How did I get my podcast?
Oh my goodness. It's because you manifested that literally like almost at the beginning of our program. You said something. I was watching our interview from like 6 months ago and you said it. And then we had our one-on-one session. And I said, Wendy, do you realize that 6 months ago you said you wanted to start your podcast? I think time is now. And speaking of branding, I really love what this podcast crystallized for you because you are now officially a teacher, a consultant for children book authors. I mean, what a perfect person to be taught by than an author who published 5 children's books. I mean, how is that going, Wendy?
It's going great. That is something that I never would have imagined that would have manifested from being on over 70 podcasts. So I'll tell you what, I had a goal. Since you had 70, I had to have 72. Well, not 72, but I had to have 70 also. I didn't have to beat you. I just wanted to get up there with it. I'm sure you have more than 70 now, but yeah, that is something that I guess I did manifest. I don't know. I didn't have it on my radar. And then you reminded me that I said and showed me on the video that I said I wanted to have a podcast. And then you said, "Are you still having a podcast?" And my response was like, "What day can I start?" Right? And you're like, "Slow down."
Exactly. Again.
Thing. And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's right, that's right." I guess I was wanting to jump right into it again. I guess I couldn't do that.
I just love it. I just think it's such a great avenue for you to, coach and connect with your clients who are aspiring children's book authors or already children's book authors. So, so happy for you.
Thank you. I love to give the creative feedback. Nobody should promise you that you're going to be traditionally published, but I love to give the creative feedback for those writers who already have their first draft, who want to level it up to the next level and get even closer to the publishing stage, and then help them there. So you helped me get my podcast together. A lot of question, like how would you tell your clients, or how do you tell them to start a podcast?
Well,
What do they need?
Yeah, I really love, Wendy, taking your podcast as an example. I would strongly recommend to be on brand, like your podcast, Right Kind. You're all about kindness and you're all about writing. So that name that you came up with was just so perfect. So the importance of being on brand, and not just starting a show because you feel like it. So being intentional from the beginning, because ultimately that podcast is another way to grow a business, another way to get your consulting clients and to share value. So it should be very related to what you do, like strictly related. So, and you have it with the name, you have it with the theme of the podcast, with all the advice that you share with aspiring children book writers. So I am so glad that you started in such a non-sporadic, but like in an intentional way. That's definitely the way to do it, because it is, we use it like in your why is to grow your business. So
right, exactly. Yes. And thank you. I just started it in May, and I had 3 discovery calls last week, and all 3 people finished my sentence for me, and I was like, how did you know that? They said, well, I listened to your podcast. I was like, oh, okay, great. Because, when you first start one, oh, by the way, and I haven't told you that one of my episodes, and I know people, have really, really big numbers with their podcasts. I know that, but I'm just starting. One of my episodes, and it wasn't even my first episode. One of my episodes that came out 2 weeks ago has over 100 downloads, which I'm really happy with. So just for
Amazing.
one, and I'm very close to 1,000 downloads altogether. So thank you to everybody on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube who have
Amazing. And I love your attitude. Oh, and a beautiful logo just showed up. And I love your attitude, Wendy. You're celebrating 100, you're celebrating 1,000. Meanwhile, there are so many people who just cannot have this joy because they just are looking at always something bigger that will make them feel inadequate. So they would never celebrate any number that they reached because they would always find another number that's bigger. And for what? To just make them feel inadequate and just sad. So I love your joy. I love your celebration. And you know what? This energy is just going to bring more and more abundance.
Well, I've heard somebody say, if you had 100 people in the room at one time and you were speaking to them, would you be happy? Like, yeah, I would be elated. And I'd rather have 100 people who wanted to be there and hopefully take those one or two actionable steps away, like that I try to give in every episode, than have 1,000 people who didn't care. Like, yeah, okay.
Love it.
And then
Yeah.
on their phones or distracted the whole time.
You're wonderful. Yeah, you're such a you're a teacher at heart, and that shows. So
Oh, thanks. Well, you taught me, speaking of teachers, you taught me so much. You taught me about batching. Tell me about what you suggest for new podcasts
yeah,
hosts to do
so
about batching.
batching, I discovered discovered the importance of batching when I read 4 Hour Work Week, which was a book that changed my life. I read it 15 years ago. And it's basically grouping the same activities and doing them together. So answering emails twice a day, if we can, checking anything that we need to check. We should not just be responsive to notifications, etc., but we should just be more intentional again. And the same thing with even pitching or filming. Can we film 3 episodes at once? Can we write 3 blog posts? Because we are going to save so much time on not doing that setup again. It may seem that it's nothing. Oh, I'm just going to open the computer and then it's just easy. It's not even a setup, but it is. It does take time because we need to get into it. So by batching, by doing a few related things at once, we're definitely saving time. Yeah.
Right. And energy too, because once I try to do 2 episodes at the same time. I try to clear enough in my schedule to do 2 because I'm already set up and I have a template that I use. And I will, sketch out and write out my outline and template, and then it's already ready to go and I'm already set up. Plus, I use Canva to free episode graphics, and I do them 10 at a time. So
wonderful.
it's easy just to do, like, season 1, episode 1, save. Episode 2, episode 3, save. So they're all saved. So when I record, all I have to do is go in my computer and then choose the one, and I don't have to go to Canva every single time and create it and spend all that time. So that helps.
I think the more systems we introduce, the more likely we are to stay consistent. So
that's the key. Right.
Because it's just going to automatize things. If we have to just reinvent everything from the scratch every day, we are less likely to continue. And consistency is, something that we all struggle with. So creating these systems and introducing these methods, the routines, is definitely helpful.
Exactly. Tell us more about your creative career. Tell us what your favorite parts of your book are.
Well,
I
thanks for
have
asking,
them. I have
Wendy.
them. I saw them.
Oh, thanks for asking, Wendy. Yeah, so that was definitely my passion project, and I was so glad that the book is traditionally published and I have an agent. It's a big accomplishment, as so you know it really well, Wendy, to really do that in today's world where not many people read, right? so
Well,
so that was
to get an agent alone is like getting struck by lightning, but in a good way.
yeah, and so it was interesting. Well, one interesting thing that I discovered in the whole writing process, and I like bringing it up because that was really shocking to me. Well, I expected that it's going to be, of course, a lot of writing, but I didn't expect that there are going to be so many hours spent in solitude. It's like, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
How was the editing process for you? Was
Well,
it long or not?
I was lucky to have two editors in the publishing house. So there was a line editor and a developmental editor. So blessed, so blessed. So
So
yeah.
did they give you a mock-up and send it back to you, or did they just take it and kind of finesse it for you?
We were going a little bit back and forth. I had a boss, Wendy. I had a boss. I'm laughing because I knew that going into the book deal, I was like, okay, now I'm going to have a boss. So I had
Yes.
deadlines and things to do, but they definitely have done a lot, which was amazing. The one thing I don't agree is that that shitty first draft, you just submit anything. I was like, no.
Yeah, you
I
can't do that.
really, no way. There's no way I would, like, out of respect, I would not submit just like that shitty first draft to anybody. So I did a lot of like self editing.
A lot of people don't understand that your first draft is a first draft for a reason, and they think that's it. Once they got it down on paper, and maybe they'll check the spelling, and then they want to send it into a publisher or an agent, and it's like, no. This is
No,
a
not
labor
yet.
of love. It's not just write it down and
Yeah.
send it out. Oh
Oh,
no.
it's so awesome to geek out about writing with you, Wendy.
And then when you get those edits back, you're like, okay. You see, like, oh, here's Ruby Tuesday. You see, and she's in the clubhouse. See a
Oh,
little bit of red going on, and you're like, okay. And then you got to get, all right, it's
yeah,
editing
yeah.
time. Let's see what I can do.
A
See if
lot
I
of
can save it.
learning, a lot of like self growth in the during the process for sure, because it's like a team working on like your pet project. I mean, my title got changed. I'm like,
Oh,
what?
it did? What was the original title? Tell
Passion,
us.
Passion Inc.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I like that. I wonder why. Did they give you a reason?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. They don't really have to give a
Oh, that's
reason.
true.
It's
It,
like.
that's not it. What about the art? Did you use the artwork and the cover artwork, or did they?
Oh, it's a book deal, so they did it all. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people think just because you pay a illustrator and you submit the illustrations that they're going to take those. So
Oh,
yeah, a lot of people think that, and that's not the case. And a lot of times, if your illustrator isn't up to par, it can ruin a whole deal for even the writer.
oh
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't even occur to me to mess with this. Like I knew that they would like take care of it if it's a book deal, but I could understand that somebody would want to be would want to have a say as far as the cover, etc. Like my big piece of advice would be like, if you're really going for a traditional deal, expect to give up your control. Like, do
Yes.
not get
Exactly.
attached to a title, cover, or anything else. It's a book deal. You're getting in advance. You're getting royalties. Somebody's basically buying your idea. So are you in or
Right.
out?
Right. Exactly. A lot of well, because children's authors, they're so inspired by other children's books and the illustrations. And it really is a fun, I mean, I was able to use the illustrations I use, but I told when I submitted, I said, I can submit without the illustrations. I'm okay if you don't want the illustrations, want to go in a different path. But it is so much fun. A lot too many writers for children's books will work with the first draft instead of getting it pristine and really clean. And then because they want to jump to the illustration phase, it is fun. And
Mm.
you have to know that you shouldn't be, married to those illustrations unless you're going to self-publish.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I'm so lucky right now that, the whole writing journey continues, because a lot of clients, a lot of students are writers, authors, aspiring authors, because
Yes.
it is such a wonderful way to launch your book. Being a guest on podcasts is like the new way to launch your book.
Well,
Forget about going to Barnes and Noble and having 10 people around you. Like, why would you even bother with that, especially now,
that's kind of fun if
So,
it's your first one, Anna. If it's your first one.
yeah.
But tell us, how far in advance should we be booking these guest podcast interviews before our book comes out? Tell us,
Well,
what's your gut?
this is actually an excellent question, Wendy, because a lot of people get surprised by the answer. And we just had a group call about launching a book by being a guest on podcast, and that was the most surprising piece of information I shared. So I would recommend 4 to 6 months before getting get the book out. And so definitely while you are still writing, I cannot advise enough that you should not be waiting for your manuscript to be finished, because then it can be kind of too late. I mean, you may still book a few, but if you really want a true book launch, to do a book podcast launch tour, 30, 40 interviews, like do it 4 to 6 months ahead, pick a date and just focus on that date, because you can always record these interviews and they can be aired later on, right? So
Exactly. Well, I tell my clients and my listeners, as soon as you start putting pencil to paper or pen to paper, or start typing, you should start your social media platform somewhere, and then have a landing page for your, start a website and collect those
emails.
Yes.
You know it,
Yes.
right? I am
I
such a
know. Because that's one thing I learned after the fact. I wish I had known that before my books were published. My my publisher handled some of the marketing, but I didn't realize the marketing is actually on the author. So I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing at this time. You're saying at least 6 months before your book comes out. I didn't know to collect these emails. I didn't know to let people know. And so what you are teaching is valuable, because when I was with you, I kind of I was behind the 8 ball. But now I feel like, I'm like a back and front, like where I should have been back then. So a lot of people don't realize that they want to write the book and they're all about getting the book out and then talking about it. And it's kind of backwards. You talk about it and then you get the book out.
Yeah, and I understand it feels comfortable. When I was launching my book, I wanted to be done with it and then. But, you have to do it at the same time while you're still writing. I know you're swamped. I know that's not what you want to be doing right now, because you want to finish your manuscript. You're on a deadline. But you have to, like, it's like multitasking, because it's going to be too late. It's going to be too late. And I actually found out by chance how long it really takes, because my first interview was like exactly that time, like 5 months before. And I was like, yeah, should I really say yes? Like, I'm so busy. Like, I want to just focus on my manuscript. That takes so much of my time. But I did say yes to that podcast interview. And then when I noticed that it took like a 1 month to schedule, then it took like 2 months to air. So my book was almost out. It was like, wow, we were on time. So then when I realized how long it took, I started just focusing on booking guest podcast interviews. And I was so glad I was on time. I wasn't early. I was on time with that being 4 to 6 months. So
Yeah, well, so that's what I teach now because I learned from experience
yeah.
how to, how not to do it. And it's just not on people's radar, the timeline of what should be done when, because you're not taught that unless you have a coach, I think.
Right. Yeah. Being coached can really save us time and money because we can do all these things alone if we are motivated enough. But then we're going to make these mistakes that will cost us money, either cost us book
Awesome.
sales because we'll be too late with stuff. We'll just not know. It's impossible to know it all. It's so much easier to hire you, Wendy, who's gone through the publishing process of a children's book, and
Yeah.
you will
Five
save
times.
time,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Instead of just like discovering these things that are just wildly known by you, by people, and by you, right?
Yeah. It's just, yes, I agree with everything you said. Absolutely. I mean, but it saved, I bootstrapped a lot of things.
Yeah,
Certain things that you can't be an expert on. So
yeah.
my thing is grammar. I would love to be an expert on grammar, but my brain's more creative than thinking about all the structure of the grammar. So I hired 3 different editors to look at my readers to make sure I was on point with everything, because I
Yeah.
have heard so many horror stories about people who self-publish and left out a period, or used the wrong version of their, THEIR, instead of
Oh, I
ERE.
would stop reading. I'm sorry. I'm a
Yeah,
grammar
right.
freak.
And especially if you write for kids and you're
Yeah.
using that in the classroom, you can't use something that's got the wrong words or the wrong grammar. It's just not gonna work. And
Yeah.
then on the podcast, if you write for kids, you can let people know that you are available to do readings or show. Well, we used to be able to go to schools. Who knows what we're going to do in the fall? But you can do virtual readings. I have over 300,000 Skype miles, and the podcasting really helped me with that as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's so wonderful. Yeah, this is the great thing about podcast episodes in general. They are search friendly. So when we post things on Instagram, on Facebook, as fun as it is, and we think that we make progress, we do. We can get clients that way as well. But these things just disappear. Disappear. You know, our podcast episodes, when we are a guest on a podcast, that's evergreen content. So I always advise to share the info that's going to be relevant in a year or in 2 years. Like, I get messages from people asking about my one-on-one coaching services, and I'm like, how did you hear about me? Oh, on a podcast episode. I'm like, which one? Out of office. I'm like, wait a second, that was recorded a year ago. I didn't say that, but I like
Right.
realized to
But you
myself,
take note, right? Yeah,
right, that it
absolutely.
was so these podcast episodes are basically creating this body of work for us and linking back to whatever we'd like, because everyone has show notes, every single one of them has show notes. It's just such a great method to build a business. I cannot recommend it enough.
Well, I'm going to ask you, since you're so, I'm going to ask you, what is one thing that we don't know about you that you want to share with us? What is one thing we don't know? We don't know a lot about you. We know
Oh,
we know how smart you are, but we don't, like, what would that be? One thing be?
oh my goodness, Wendy!
Ah,
I should get these questions in advance.
no, it's more fun this way. You can make something
Um,
up.
okay.
Yeah. Oh,
So
Gabriel says Anna is an enigma. You are. You are an enigma, and it's awesome. What's one thing you can tell? Something small, like what you
something small.
can be
Okay.
small if you want to, because you are an enigma.
So I need to admit that as much as I recommend batching and filming the episodes,
No.
grouping all these activities, like activities because we're going to be more productive that way. I don't batch my daily videos. It's so much time, Wendy. It's I don't know what's happening. It's I cannot get myself to film even sometimes more than one Anna Talks. I do them daily.
You know why?
And
Because you live in Hawaii. Isn't that the culture? Just
yeah, well, I try not to give in to this culture,
by the ocean right now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm reading a book. Wasn't that what you said today for today's? And I'm like, I wouldn't.
right. But this whole batching, like I know that this could save me so much time. And once I almost got in trouble because I was sick. I was so sick. And I'm like, I need to film Anna Talks while I'm sick.
Oh, what was that?
Yeah. And then, but it actually gave me.
You don't batch. It was breaking news.
Yeah, I don't batch. But it actually gave me an idea for an episode that we should batch. We should have a creative well and a few episodes.
So I didn't know, do you remember when you were sick? Do you remember where you were? Were you in New York or were you
It was here. Hawaii? It was here in Hawaii. It was back in January. So yeah.
I'm sorry. I couldn't tell. You could have played that one where you're dancing again. For those of you who didn't see it. Well, I have opposites real quick. Maybe we can get to know you this way. You just have to pick one or the other, and they're not hard. So, Apple or Android, Anna?
Apple. That's not even a question.
Hey, me too. I'm the same. Summer or winter?
Summer.
Yes. Porsche or Audi?
Oh my goodness. Audi.
All right. Water or soda?
Water.
Dog or cat?
Dog.
Dragon or unicorn?
Oh, unicorn.
Oh, two more. Painting, sculpture.
Painting.
And ballet or disco, since you were dancing.
Oh, I'd say disco. It's so interesting when these questions, and it just made me think. They're almost like so black and white, like like there's no other way. I would pick this one. Like,
well, I wouldn't ask you too hard questions, but I feel like I know you even more, and I think everybody listening probably appreciates things too. Do you have anything to ask me?
Okay, yes, of course.
Okay.
Okay,
now
Wendy.
I'm nervous. You didn't send these to me in advance.
Right back at you. What is the one thing that we don't know about you? I'm stealing your question because it's so good.
Okay, so this has actually been on my mind. I want to learn how to drift a car. Yeah, I know. But I'm going to learn.
Okay, tell us more.
Well, I don't have a rear wheel car. I mean, I don't have a car that has rear wheel drive. So we were actually looking for one. I've always wanted to drift a car, like, and not do donuts. Well, maybe do donuts too, but I've always wanted to drift like around one of those big circles. And Jana, what's his last name? Oh, I can't remember his last name, but he told me if I was ever in England again, he would teach me how to do it. But I haven't been able to be back. But yeah, that's one thing I'd like to do. It doesn't really go with my person, but I would love to drift in a safe area, of course.
What an interesting thing about you, Wendy. Wow, I'm getting to know you more.
Race a car. What else did you ask me? Anything? Can I have some more
Yeah,
questions
yes,
too?
I do. I'd like you to give us tips of how to be such a fast self-starter, how to just go for things earlier than you even think about them.
Okay. So years ago, when I sent out my first manuscript, it got rejected by a publisher. The publisher told me that kindness was not relevant.
Mm.
And I was so devastated. I hid my manuscripts in a drawer for over 2 decades, just totally embarrassed. And then one day, I, and I hope people don't wait 20 years to discover this, but I realized I was like embarrassed and I shouldn't have been. And I waited way too long. I chose to let that upset me. And I chose to let that stop me. And ever since I decided that had no merit with me anymore, it's like I don't, it's like pedal to the metal. It's like I'm
Mm.
ready to go. So you have to decide why you're doing it. I knew why I wanted to do it because my mission is to help people navigate a difficult world, especially children. And why should I let one person who maybe doesn't want to do a podcast interview with me like stop me? Why should I let that weigh down what I want to do? So, you know, I'll ask, I'll do the best I can, and you'll get you'll get yeses. And then, then I go, why did I get a yes? And then I'm like, why am I asking myself that? I asked, and this is what you want, and this is a treat. And so I love it. But I still get nervous.
Mm.
But I
I
guess
love this story. I love this story so much because there are so many people who want to do things, but they still don't dare. They just don't have this courage and they are stopped by so many different things, whether it's the sound of their voice or they are worried that they don't have anything to say or they are worried that they will not sound professional. Yeah, it's
when you say voice, how ironic that you said that, because all my life I've been teased about my voice because it's kind of high. And I remember, like, in my 30s, I'd answer, the phone, the landline, and people would say, "Is your mother home?" And I had two babies. I'm holding two babies, and they're asking me if my mother's home because my voice is so small. And I was always teased about it at school. So I was like, well, my voice is small. That's fine. But you turned out to be a superpower because a lot of feedback from Into the Right Kind podcast. They say, I love listening to your voice.
oh,
And it goes with,
wonderful.
and a lot of teachers say your voice goes, perfectly with children's books. So I was born to have this voice. I just didn't know it until later in life. So something that you think will be negative could turn out to be, a gift.
Wonderful. This is so true. This is so true. So inspiring.
Well, tell me, who is one of the most influential people for you? You have
Well,
anybody?
as I mentioned, the person in the book who changed my life was Tim Ferriss and the 4 Hour Work Week. Because back then, I really discovered that location independent lifestyle can exist if we create it, if we design our life. Like he was the first one who started talking about lifestyle design. And I was soaking it all in. And I'm like, yeah, I want it. Because I used to be on Wall Street. I used to be like stuck at my desk and be a market analyst. And it just did not bring me joy, didn't bring me joy. It taught me a lot. I don't regret I had that position. I'm really super grateful. It taught me structure and definitely shaped my who I am today and in my business, but I knew that it was not for me. So that first time when I heard about lifestyle design was just like a light bulb moment and a very shaping moment for me.
Was that the last time you had a boss outside of an editor for your book?
Yes, yes, yeah.
But did you know that at the time when you left your job that you weren't going to have a boss again, or were you hopeful you wouldn't have a boss again?
Well, no,
Or
this actually didn't bother me. What bothered me the most about the typical 9 to 5 was that I was not in charge of my time. So even though I think most business owners, founders may work more than a typical 9 to 5, the fact that we are able to choose and take off a random Thursday and work on Sunday and just like really truly be in charge of our time is so valuable to me. Like I love it. So that was the biggest thing about having a steady job.
and then let me give a random question because I'm going to give another random question so we can learn more about you.
Yes, I want to learn more as well.
Hey,
One
Gabriel.
more question. Okay, so what's the most embarrassing song on your phone?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, good one.
Do you have any on there?
Oh, I think I had like no.
We want to know, Anna.
The question for me that what really perked my ears up and had me sitting up in my seat was the fact that Wendy wanted to learn how to drift.
I still do.
That's to me. That's like okay. That's like so not well. From what I know, that's not like her personality. You see, she's kind. She's very.
Well, drifting's not unkind, Gabriel.
Well, it's not that it's unkind, but it's so action packed. That's what's so different about it, right? So if you go watch, guys, if you've never seen drifting, go to YouTube, type in drifting, and see what it is, and then you'll understand why I'm a little bit shocked because again, that's like a whole nother level of excitement.
Jumping in there.
Exactly, and getting in and doing what they do and seeing what some of these guys can do with drifting. I'm like, okay, that is like insane. But again, that's just me going, okay, I don't see that as being Wendy, but again, that's what we're here to learn. We're learning new things about everybody here this evening. So just like Anna says, I don't batch. Wow, that was kind of that threw everybody for a loop, right? I mean,
it's good advice, but she doesn't take it.
But that's one of the things about having these kind of conversations and talking with people is you learn different things about each other. And to me, that was like, okay, cool. I've learned something brand new about both of you ladies this evening. And of course, like I was saying, Anna's a bit of an enigma, so that adds to a whole nother level of her, her voodoo or whatever you want to call it.
She chose unicorn, and I was curious if she was going to choose dragon, but she went right to unicorn.
Right, you were like
telling too.
I said dragon.
We're in your head, Anna. We're in your head.
You guys. No, what a pleasure. What a fantastic time. I love it. I love it. And I want to really, truly compliment you, Gabriel. The production of these shows, the graphics, they're so beautiful. You're such a pro. It's like it just adds to the look and feel,
Just to me, like you guys see how you guys can see a book or you guys can see a podcast and put things together. This is my palette. So I get my brush stroke out every single day and I get to create. And for me, I want to add I got a special guest that wants to say hello to you ladies. So, just hold tight a second and let me bring in my special guest.
Uh-oh.
Brian.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not.
Hi, party crusher.
Yeah. It was totally. Well, Gabriel sent me the link. He's like, hey, you should come join and say hi to the girls. And I'm like, I would love to come say hi. And I'm like, I'll be there in about 15 minutes. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, there's only 5 minutes left in the show. Maybe I can make it.
So, know,
Oh my God.
he was counting on it. I said, okay, cool. Let me send him a little message because as you don't know, me and Brian have a really good relationship, and I saw something the other day that made me excuse my language, I fucking laughed my head off. You were doing filters on your show, and
Yeah, that was funny.
that was funny because I saw you as a piece of cake.
I actually turned them off before I came in because I didn't want to throw anybody off.
Oh my goodness.
We wouldn't be surprised now.
That was funny.
Yes, Wendy.
Oh, sorry, Brian. You were one of the first people I followed when I came back to LinkedIn. Your voice, your vibe, and everything you stand for, really impressed me and still does and inspires me all the time. So thank you so much for all you do.
Oh gosh, thank you. That means so much to me. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Oh yeah, those midday pumps, all these, especially when like March, April, and you were showing up with those. Oh my goodness.
He was a machine, guys. If you didn't watch all he was doing,
he let me be on one.
Here's the thing, guys. I do this every day. I was seeing him do this 2 or 3 times, and I was going, "Wow, he's gone a whole nother level."
I saw that.
Okay, but Anna, can we talk about Anna for a second?
Yeah, let's talk about
Anna has made almost 800 daily LinkedIn videos. Do you have any idea how ridiculous that is? Like, it's ridiculous how she's able to come up. I mean, for the good, like how Anna is able to come up with something every single day and is adding value every single time she shows up. Look, she's over there like, why are you talking about me?
Thank you so much. No, I appreciate it. I really do
You're
appreciate
amazing.
it.
You're amazing.
And I was just sharing what helps consistency because we all deal with it. And I think my tip would be to create a system. And for me, it was not a system of publishing at the same time, but that would help as well. But it was like, it's the same format, 1 minute, kind of a routine. So that helps me be consistent. But thank you for your kind words and thanks for noticing. Yeah.
No,
you're such a cheerleader. I love it.
Absolutely. We all need cheerleaders. I mean, it's so important. I needed them when I got started. I mean, I would have stopped if I didn't have, Fahad and Mike Morgan and Goldie and so many that were supporting me when I got started in my journey. It's the beginning is hard, but the whole journey is hard. I mean, there's so many moments where I sit there and go, I don't have it.
Here's one that I think 3 of us can probably answer. Here's one that says, any tips for getting approved for LinkedIn Live? And that's still one that blows people's minds.
Yeah, I'll hit it just because I'm here. So look, I mean, for those of you that are familiar with LinkedIn Live, you know that it's one of those things that it's still in beta. Okay, LinkedIn is still piloting it with, I would say, a few broadcasters and there's probably like 350 to 400 of us out of 350 to 400 of us out of 675 million people that are approved broadcasters. And so because it's not available to everybody, if you want to apply, I'll go back and replay and I'll drop the link in the comments. What I would tell you is this. 1, don't be discouraged. And I'll drop these tips in there too. Don't be discouraged if you get denied. Most people get denied and they get denied like 4, 5, 10 times. Like seriously.
Wow.
So,
4 times.
People that we know that you'd sit there and go, are you kidding me? They don't have live. Yeah. So just don't get discouraged. That's one. But the thing is, okay, now what do you do if you do get denied? Well, one thing is to remember that if you get an auto reply relatively quickly, know that the LinkedIn Live team gets bombarded with people asking to get LinkedIn Live. So they can't reply to everybody from a human to human perspective. So if you get an auto reply, don't get discouraged and feel like, oh, I got denied. No, it just means that you're in the system. And then come back again and apply again and look at the replies and see how they've changed. And you will notice when it's an actual human human reply versus an auto reply. Now, that being said, here's some tips for you. So go live on other platforms. That's tip one. Show LinkedIn that you have already created live content on other platforms. So Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and make sure they're open. Make sure they're public when you publish them, so that anyone can see them. Okay, that's really important. Tip two is create native videos on LinkedIn. Now, here's a great little tip to go with that. If you remember tip one, which was go live on other platforms, tip two helps you accomplish tip one. Or no, tip one helps you accomplish tip two. You can take that content from those other platforms you've streamed on and slice them up into LinkedIn videos, 60 seconds or less, and start sharing that, right? And when you do, say, hey guys, did you miss the show live on Instagram or on Facebook or on wherever? I don't have LinkedIn Live just yet, but go check it out. Hope you enjoy the show. Drop the links in the comments. Okay, so you can accomplish one by doing the other. Then engage in other live streams, right? I mean, again, there's not that many of us. So when you engage in other people's live streams on LinkedIn, it grows your tribe. You'll better understand the feature. It also shows that you're invested, right? Because you're paying attention. Everybody's live streams are different. The way they do the shows are different. You can learn from people, but connect with those broadcasters, because that's how you're able to actually get on other people's shows too, which is another part of this. Try and get on other people's shows as a guest. Everybody loves to have guests on shows. Most people are not, no, I don't want you on my show. So just ask. Yeah, right? You never know if you don't ask. So definitely ask. And then and by the way, when you show up on other people's live shows, LinkedIn sees that too. They pay attention to that stuff. So it tells them like what kind of vibe you have, and how you flow in conversation. And that's a really big part of it. And then the last one is just, again, I mean, don't be discouraged. Take steps 1, 2, and 3, 3.5, and reapply and engage and support and show the love. I mean, everybody on here knows that. Like when you engage and you share the love and you support, people see that. And that's what this platform's all about. So there's some quick tips there.
These are great tips, right?
Tips from tips from the master, right? And I will second a lot of that notion of what he's saying. And I'll even go one step further. Even after you get denied, reopen your case each time.
Yes.
Reopen your case every single time. After you get the automated reply, even if they tell you, oh, we've put you in the system, right? Like he says, they're looking at it every single time. I'm going to tell you what, I followed exactly what he said, and I had less than 2,000 followers before I had LinkedIn Live. Because I did what he was telling me. I was putting out content on the platform. I was jumping on anybody in everybody's lives that would have me to get on there and put a voice out there. And once I started doing that, and I'd say, hey, can I get a copy of the tape? I would slice it down, put it up there. They asked me, say, hey, show me where you have live streamed on other live platforms and that sort of thing. Put all that information. I had so much so I couldn't fill anymore. And guess what? I come back 3 weeks later, boom, there's the button that says you have access to LinkedIn Live.
Yeah, and that's out of content, right? Because when they ask you those questions, it's a detailed application. So when you go back and you reapply, you can put in, I've been on Gabriel's show, Anna's show, Wendy's show, Brian's show as guests. Like, that's valuable because they can go back and check that out.
Yeah, exactly. And
or I took over Gabriel's
show. Yeah.
One time.
Yeah.
Wendy just takes over.
Hey,
she's not going to get.
What do I need my own for?
This is really cool.
Wendy's done this twice.
This is really cool that you do this.
Yeah.
This is really cool you do this. It reminds me of what's happening across all the platforms out there where really big voices are saying, hey, you can take over my channel to voice your vibe. We want you to have a voice and to voice your vibe and show up, right? And that's what I think it's really cool. I think we should do that. I think we should do that on LinkedIn. I think we should get all of us broadcasters together in a group and congregate and put a message out. I'm putting that out right now. This is a challenge. Everybody who's got LinkedIn Live, all of you broadcasters, I think we should open it up and do exactly what Gabriel has done and provide a voice to those who want to speak and
Well,
show up. And
I'm taking
Yeah.
that as an invitation.
well, totally. Yeah, you're doing it right now. I'm like, I showed up. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not Gabriel. Wait, it's Wendy and Anna. What's happening right now? Am I in the right place?
Right. There were a lot of
This is
people that
cool.
I got 2 regular co-hosting right
It's
now.
recorded.
That's right. I got 2 regular co-hosts right now. Wendy's been
That's
one.
great.
She's the second time. I got a second one named Megan Rajan. She's gonna do it again. I've actually introduced 2 more that are coming on the show. David Mumford will be one, and then the third one, and then the fourth one. Everybody knows here. His name's Steve Sullivan. Steve Sullivan
I
will
love
be
Steve.
taking over the. Steve will be
Yes.
taking over the helm here of the show as
Oh
well.
my. Oh my.
So,
Wonderful.
But absolutely, it's great. Like, I love that you empower people to be a host of a show when they don't have the ability to do it yet, right? And I think that's really cool. And the other thing too is, like, just like this, or bringing guests on the show. I mean, for my shows, I put the link in the comments so that anyone can join as a guest.
yes,
Like, because I want people, and there's 2 reasons for that. One is, there's a lot of people out there that want to start their own podcast or their own live show or whatever, and they're really hesitant about it for so many reasons.
Anna
Technology.
Sabino. Hello, Anna Sabino. There's tons of people that are looking to start podcasts.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
and they should
there
start
are.
by being a guest, right, Anna?
That's right. And
That's
being-
first.
Yeah. Yes, being a guest.
Cool,
I want to sing Beauty and the
cool,
Beast song now.
guys.
Yeah, for sure, right? But and then
Wonderful. The
and
more
then
the
once they-
merrier.
Yes, and once they show up, right? I've had so many people that pop up in the show and they're like, "Oh my god, I've never been on a live show before. This is crazy." Or they're in the comments and they're engaging. I'm like, "You should come on the show." "No, I look horrible and my house is upside down and whatever." I'm like, "Yeah, we're all going through a pandemic. Everyone is that way. So just click on the link and come on." And
Yeah.
a little nudging, and they show up and they're like, "Oh my god, what's happening?" And I tell them they're gonna dance, and they're like, "Are you kidding me right now?" I'm like, "Yes, we're gonna have a good time." And so, and then after, they're like, "Thank you so much for giving me that nudge." Like, I was so terrified, but I feel so much better now. Like, I know I can, and I'm like, yes, you can. So do that. Take those opportunities where you can, and just show up. Look, we're just human beings having a conversation. It's like, forget all the noise. And a friend of mine was saying, she's like, every time, like, when I show up on the live, I get all weird. I don't feel like I'm acting like me. I'm like, it's just us having a conversation. Forget about the millions of people out there. It doesn't matter. It's just us. Then you can go back and watch it and go, "Oh my god, I just did that."
So, again,
Yes, for sure.
I put this on the table, and I've told everybody, hey, you want to reach out to me? If you're afraid of the technology, I will handle the technology. All you have to do is bring your voice and bring your message, and I can put it all together. Ask Wendy how simple it is for me to. I mean, it's pretty much a link for her, a link for the guest. Boom, put you guys together. I put everything else together, and I have so much fun with this because I love the technical part of this. So
Yeah.
for me, I get to geek out and I go.
Jackie Schwartz is like blowing up the comments on Facebook. She's loving it.
She says,
She's like, yes, I want in.
So
Absolutely.
Jackie, if you know how to connect with me, we will have a conversation. And believe me, the reason I've been doing this is because, like Brian said, I want to provide a platform for other people, and I've built a lot of following here, doing this every day and being consistent with it. And there's a lot of people who, like I said, are scared but have a message. They don't know about getting the whole aspect of starting a podcast or being on a live stream, but they have something to say. And what I do is say, you know what? Come and say it.
Come and say it. Go to Anna for help, and go to Gabriel for live. Anna for podcast, and Gabriel for live, and come see Wendy because she's awesome. And
if you're writing a book, if you're writing a children's book, book
If
consultant,
you need
That's right.
started, I'll be your cheerleader.
There you go.
There you go. 100%.
And then if you need, and then LinkedIn tips down below, that's my man, Brian Schulman.
And if you want to get on a show, we've all got you covered, and just show, like, you have no excuses. Like, you have nothing left. Like, you just take the leap. Take the lead for crying out loud. Come on. Like, it happened to all of us. I will tell you this real quick, and I didn't mean to like take over the show, but Gabriel, like, I remember when Gabriel literally all of a sudden, it was like Batman coming out of the light or something. He just started showing up, and he showed up in the comments, and then he started making a video. He's like, I just want to thank Brian. I'm like, what did I do? He's like, I want to thank Brian for this awesome show, and shout out Saturday and his consistency. And then he was showing up and showing up and showing up and showing up. And I'm like, this dude's incredible. And I'm like, you need to come on the show. And you come on the show, and he's amazing, right? And I had no idea you had all this incredible knowledge and how to. I'm like, dude, you're incredible, like absolutely. And so then there's so many people like Gabriel and Anna and Wendy that are out there that are, you know, they're just no, I can't do that. You can do it. You can do it. We're all here to support you, not just the four of us and Wendy's dog, but like. You know, everybody, look at your little fur baby. Yeah. We're all here to lift each other up and support one another. And in these times that we're in now more than ever, I mean, come on, like if you don't understand the fact that, well, one, you shouldn't be leaving your house unless it's necessary. I'm just saying. But two, digital, you got to show up on digital. Everyone's here. Like, take advantage of this opportunity. It's an amazing time for you to be present when you need to show up. And when the only true way to show up is right here digitally, like
yes, and I'm pretty sure all three of us will say one of the biggest secrets, and it's not a secret, but one of the biggest secrets is consistency. Is consistent. I mean, how many times has Anna done it? How many times have you done it, Brian? I do this Monday through Friday. I've even done 6 days a week at times. Yes,
you're a beast. You're a beast.
Be consistent, and
authentic. And authentic.
Yes.
Gabriel, when you're behind the wheel in your van, it's gold.
But look, it's a really good point, Wendy. You bring up a really good point. Like, be authentic, and you hear that a lot. Like, just be genuine, be authentic. I will tell you from experience, and Anna, I know you can relate to this too. Like, when you first get started, you kind of are in your head, and you're like, "Who am I? And how do I show up?
Yeah.
And what do I do? And how do?" That's okay. Like, don't feel like. When you show up, if you haven't figured it out and you still haven't figured it out a little bit down the road, that there's something wrong with you. There's not. Like we all grow through that.
Yeah, and it's hard, Brian, because like the first 30 episodes, I would say, is nobody's really gonna watch right away. So, you know, 3 likes, 5 likes, we cannot be hung up on this. We just have to keep going and just believing in the process. Falling in love with the process and just like keep being the way we are. It's gonna, everything just takes a while. We're so impatient, so focused on the present.
Yeah.
Everything is just
it's so true.
Longer,
it is so true. Yeah, it is. And get comfortable being comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Like don't give up because and it's easy to get caught up in the no likes and reactions and this and engagement. Like you could have a show. I mean, literally there's times where I'm like, nobody's watching this right now. Like there's just nobody's watching, you know, but here's the thing that's important to remember, right? Is that people go back and watch your videos. People go back and watch your lives.
Exactly.
People and the thing is there's so many people that aren't showing up and engaging and reacting that are watching. I had a couple people reach out to me just like a weekend ago that random messages, totally out of the blue. I hadn't talked to them in forever. And these are actually people that I used to work with. They were actually former bosses of mine. And all of a sudden I got 2 great messages. I want to give a shout out to Scott and Derek. 2 great messages. And they're like, I can't tell you how it was like mixed messages, right? But like how proud of you I am, or I knew it way back when, or keep doing what you're doing. You're inspiring so many people. And I'm like, that's really cool. Like,
that's awesome.
And I never knew that they were watching, and I never, you know, and so I want you to know that, you know, people are always watching. Know that people are always watching, and truly know that you are always impacting people when you show up.
Yeah.
Whether you hear it or not.
Yeah.
Wendy,
Anna said it. Anna said it perfect. Just show up, trust the process, get comfortable being comfortable. Just be consistent and show up and know that will help.
I think all of us here are a testament to what we're talking about. And like even with Wendy was kind of telling us beforehand that, you know, she just started her podcast, but she's already had 100 people download her podcast, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, or one
awesome.
one episode. Yeah. So
Yeah,
celebrated.
one episode. Yeah.
104 people
Look at-
in one episode.
Wendy, if
Yay.
one person downloaded it,
Right.
that's a win. Like that's the
I
other
know,
thing.
right?
People do not. I think that we discount the impact of one human affecting the life of another. Like just that's amazing. So just if one person watches it, if one person listens to your podcast, if one person shows up to see your show, if one person watches your video, impact. Come on, like it. Just know that matters.
Yes.
You know, it
every,
really
si-
does.
every single day. So guys, thank you everybody so much for showing up this evening. I've had a wonderful time. I always have to thank my I call her my regular guest host, Wendy. Thank you so much as always. And this evening's guest, of course, Anna Sabino. Thank you so much.
Brady Bunch.
The enigma that she is. We've kind of pulled back the layers a little bit, and hopefully we'll be able to crack that code a little bit more. And of course, to the man, voice your vibe yourself, guys. Follow the hashtag. What's Good Wednesday? Shout out Saturday will be coming up this Saturday as well. My good friend.
Not this Saturday. This Saturday because Tim has a birthday and it's Father's Day. So I said,
there you go.
Go and take the weekend off, please. Don't.
Okay, there we go.
Yes.
So,
yes, yeah.
Hey, you know what that means? This is pretty awesome then. So you've heard it here first, guys. Breaking news: there will not be a shout out Saturday live.
No, live, not live, but there will be a shout out Saturday. I have yet to not have a shout out. Yes,
that's what I'm just saying. There will not be a shout out Saturday live this Saturday. So again, awesome. Thank you guys, everybody, for joining along.
Thanks so much. Thank you for having us.
As
Bye,
always, guys, stay safe, stay blessed. Peace, love, and harmony. We'll all do this together, united. Have a great evening, guys, and I will see you back here tomorrow, 7 o'clock, same bat time, same chat channel. Bye-bye, everybody.